Now your host, show writer and purveyor of all things haunt, Jeff Tucker.
Somebody scream, come on! I did, late as usual. Hey everybody! Welcome everybody, I'm Jeff Tucker. I couldn't be prouder to be up here to talk about my favorite event of all time, the greatest Halloween event of all time, Knott's Scary Farm. There it is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Knott's Scary Farm is we not only invented the theme park Halloween event, we also perfected it. With original scares that can't be found anywhere else, Knott's Scary Farm is the ultimate Halloween experience, unlike any other. You see, Scary Farm isn't just mazes and monsters, it's more than that. In fact, the best way to describe it is to say that the entire park is the attraction. Every inch of Knott's Berry Farm is transformed into Knott's Scary Farm. No cobweb is left unhung, no strobe light left unblinked. Once you enter the gates, there is seriously nowhere to hide from the terror. Nowhere to hide from the terror. And this year we're transforming Knott's Scary Farm like never before, making it a completely immersive experience from the moment you walk through the gates until you leave terrified hours later. Today, as a thank you to the most amazing fans in the world here at Midsummer Scream, we're going to take an in-depth look at what makes our park so immersive and reveal something brand new for 2018. Are you still with me? I love it. All right, I want to welcome our panel. Please welcome the Vice President of Entertainment, Ken Parks. Producer extraordinaire, Eric Nix. Scenic designer, Gus Kruger. Scenic designer, Daniel Miller. And costume designer to the stars, Tim Barham. All right, these folks up here you see represent just a small portion of the massive team that helps put on Knott's Scary Farm every year. Thank you for joining us today and allowing us to take a deep dive into what makes Knott's Scary Farm so unique, everybody. All right, we're going to start with you, Ken, as the Vice President of Entertainment. Why do we say that Knott's Scary Farm is such an immersive experience, and what does that mean?
Hey, before we do that, I just want to thank our monsters. So thank you to all of our monsters. We have any monsters in the crowd today? We love you guys. So, I mean, they really are the major part of what makes our event so awesome. Why we call it an immersive event? Well, for us it's really a commitment to kind of what you said in your introduction, that we want our park to be this theme park attraction that stands alone. And what I mean by that is that the entire park becomes the attraction. We want to get away from the idea that we're just somehow a theme park that has haunted mazes or attractions. We want every inch of our park to be something that you can discover, and that's something that can be terrifying, and to be just really an awesome, cool experience. I went to, my first haunt was in 1984, and that's kind of the great thing about this panel and the folks who work for us. Almost everybody started as a fan.
Let's go down the line. Sure. I went first in 88.
Eric?
96.
Yeah. Gus?
2000.
Get out.
What a great panel, guys.
Daniel?
82.
82. Tim?
91. I'm not from here, so my first time was when I went.
Hey,
I didn't know about it. Then I came.
you still beat Gus by 9 years, so.
It's even worse. I never came as a fan. I worked my first year, so I didn't come to Knott's.
So you were a monster?
Yeah.
Let's hear it for the monsters. So, Take us to 1984, Ken.
Well, in 1984, I had no idea what I was about to walk into. And you have to remember that that was a time where there was no internet. So there was no possibility of watching a walkthrough video. There was no possibility of seeing snaps of what the event was. It basically was a radio commercial that said, hey, Wolfman Jack is going to be at this event, and it's the greatest Halloween party ever, right? Which I'm not so sure that why Wolfman Jack was the pull for me to get me there, but that's okay, I went. And I was blown away by what it was. You know, the spider webs all over Ghost Town, the Howling Wind soundtrack, the skull up on on Timber Mountain. And so, you know, for us as fans, we want to get back to those kind of things. Last year you saw us as we keep pushing this idea of total immersion. You saw that the return of the cobwebs came back to Ghost Town. You saw the skull back up on Timber Mountain. But we want to keep heading in that direction, but we also don't want to live in a place where we're just recreating the past. We also want to keep moving forward. You know, Knott's has always been an innovator. You know, it's where it all started. And so we want to keep looking. You know, we've been doing a lot of work on alternate storytelling with our Ghost Town Alive event, and we want to keep bringing that total immersion idea into Haunt as well.
Right, you were talking about where it all began, and Haunt really began right in the heart of Ghost Town. That was where the event began, it's where the streets began, it's where a lot of history is. Eric, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I bet a lot of people in this crowd know how it started, but in 1973, Walter Knott basically decided to go all in on a Halloween event. And what he did was he handed out a few Planet of the Apes masks to some of his associates.
We're bringing those back.
Oh, right. Staffed a few people inside the mine ride and hung up some cobwebs like Ken mentioned, and Scary Farm was born. And really it was out of necessity because the fall was a kind of a slow time for the park, so he's looking for a way to attract more guests. And really what I like to remember is that, you know, that first year in 1973, that was a 3-night event, and all theme park Halloween events can kind of trace their roots back to Knott's Scary Farm from those initial 3 nights. And back then it was only, you know, we had monsters inside the Peekins, and then they were eventually unleashed on the crowds, and the art of the scare was born.
The first year they were locked in the Peekins.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that
Break
probably didn't
time?
last
Not
too
yet.
long, right? And then they broke out essentially the Peekins, and then unleashed on the world, and sliding was invented in Ghost Town as well. And I have to think that we're doing pretty well because this is our 46th year.
46, yes. And if you see that picture there in the top corner, those are the apes there. You can see them walking. And right below, that's John Waite decorating the mine ride. There's the witch from the first hanging. And then there's Seymour, the host of the first Scary Farm. So anyway, okay, so last year we introduced a whole new element to the scare zones. They were called atmosphere characters. Atmosphere characters. They were a big hit. Ken, you want to tell us what's an atmosphere character?
Well, you know, what I love about Knott's, I'm not a big fan of promising things or spoon-feeding the audience. I want our guests to discover and have these Easter eggs that are around every single corner, right? And so we kind of leaned into that. I had a story that happened to me back in 1984 that sold me on the idea of finding things within Haunt. I was walking through a near Wilderness Dance Hall, and it was just me, and it was covered in fog. I mean, it was so thick, and I heard this metal scraping the cement, just boom, and then this scrape that would happen, and it just kept going, and it was coming towards me, and I thought, oh my God, what have I walked into? I was terrified. And then the fog sort of started to dissipate, and I could see it was Freddy Krueger, and I thought, oh God, he's coming for me. And then but the metal just kept hitting the ground and scraping, and I thought, oh God, what could, I mean, I was terrified. And then the fog sort of lifted more, and I saw that that the scraping and the boom was really, he was a sweeper dressed as Freddy Krueger, and it was his pan and his broom. Right?
You know, Freddy Krueger is a janitor, so.
Maybe, who knows? But I gotta tell you, that was one of those moments for me that was like, okay, this is what's so cool about this, that at any point I could walk around a corner and have that kind of experience, and I'm the only person that had that experience, or that was so, I was the only person in that unique moment. So looking at that, we wanted to take, we have all of these, like we've said, we have all of these fantastic monsters. We also wanted to kind of create, you know, people that would be sort of these characters that as you turned a corner, there would be this image to sort of do placemaking, right? As if there's this whole other life that's going on at Knott's Scary Farm. So last year we added Engine 41. We had never had Engine 41 in a part of the mix of the decor, and we put a conductor out there. And then we had a grave digger that's in the graveyard digging away, and we had various atmosphere characters around the area. And the kind of the fun thing about it is that, you know, they become a photo opportunity, but we don't want them to just be that. We want to kind of dig into them deeper and have the experience be even richer. So we gave each of those atmosphere characters a task that they had to complete by the end of the evening that was built into their characters. So there's the picture of the conductor. And the conductor, if you saw him last year, the conductor is really he's in the 1800s, so he's in 1886, but he hears all the voices of the guests. And so his goal in the evening is to try at some point to reach out and make connection through that void, to connect to the guests that are in 2018. And so that's why if you had any sort of interaction with him, you know, you could see him looking past you or trying to reach out to you. And I think that really helps add to the immersion of the park, and so we're going to do more of that. I can't tell you exactly what we're doing with that, but I would say that I would look around the saloon area this year for something pretty awesome.
Woo! Okay. There's a hint.
Yes.
Well, you and I were talking, and for a lot of us, I don't know about you guys, but Halloween's better than Christmas for me. As great as Christmas is, oh, Christmas is great, it's great. But you don't want to know what all your presents are. The joy is, oh my God, this is exactly what I wanted, or Aunt Shirley bought me that. But, so the idea was to come to the park and discover and open those Halloween gifts on your own, right? So you don't want to know everything.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, that's a much more fun and exciting experience. If I had no expectation and I stumble upon it and I discover it myself, I think that's a far richer experience.
Absolutely. So Tim, you want to talk about these atmosphere characters, because obviously they're a lot more detailed. They're, what did you call it? 360?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
For me as a costumer, what we wanted to do is most of our monsters, we tried to make them really dark and scary so that they can hide. With the Atmo, we wanted them out and present, so I took a different approach, and I wanted to make the costumes a little brighter, a little more approachable, so no blood, no distress, no gore, because we want you to invite you into that person. We want you to have a moment with them. We also did a lot more detail. Part of these guys were also about making sure that they're 360, because you're going to interact with them and you're not being scared and run off. They're going to tell you the story, so they're going to add to you. So we really wanted to make sure that there's little trinkets and little moments. So while you're out there and you discover them, look for those little moments on their costumes. They're there for you.
Nice. All right. So speaking of attention to detail and overcoming obstacles to bring on this hair, let's take a trip to what was called the most difficult scare zone ever, and it's now one of the most popular, Carnival. Carnival fans? Anybody worried there's a clown under their chair right now? Gus, you want to tell us about clowns?
Yeah. You know, there is a challenge. How do you make a bright scare zone, a bright street zone scary? And I mean, clowns, guys, clowns, right? Can we ever say, find me any clown on the planet that's not creepy? And like, there's always that clown that's like, ooh. So yeah, I mean, clowns are just kind of awful intrinsically, but ours are the worst of the worst. So that's how we make that happen. Any clowns out there? Anybody from Boardwalk? There's like that one guy. We're very proud of you.
Well, congratulations on being called creepy, sir.
Keep it up. We want the best.
He spends all night running from guest to guest. I'm the only one here.
Yeah, so, you know, it's clowns. You don't really know. They have such a different scare technique out there. It's really, they've got that weird look in their eye, or they're laughing, and you're not really sure if they're laughing with you or because of what they want to do to you, right? And they're always smiling, and you don't trust anyone that's always smiling, because you just don't know what they're smiling about. And you probably don't want to know what clowns are smiling about.
So they're out in the boardwalk at Carnival, and we have a brand new roller coaster we opened. Anybody ride Hang Time yet? So this year, the Carnival area is opened up. There's no construction walls. There's a giant roller coaster. And Eric, tell us how that fits into the overall theme of Carnival.
Yeah, so if you've come to the park this summer or you've seen the media event that we had, we love Hang Time. And that's because at night, if you haven't seen it at night, we have this beautiful LED lighting package that's part of that coaster. And you put a giant lighting package in front of an entertainment team, and guess what they're going to do? They're going to tap into it. So our lighting designers are having a lot of fun with that right now. Hang Time will look completely different for Scary Farm. And we're also looking at creating these moments that happen throughout the night. So there are these timed moments where it's sound effects and music all timed with that beautiful LED package. And you know, speaking of lights, you know, we've been playing with the idea of lights for the last couple of seasons, and you know, obviously we want lighting is an important part of Knott's Scary Farm, but the absence of lighting can be just as strong. And last year we leaned into coasters in the dark, like Silver Bullet or Ghost Rider, where you had the lights turned completely off. And I'll just say in 2018 we're looking at carrying that on even further. So more on that.
Nice. So Ken and Tim, you want to talk about the Carnival characters and tying the area together. There's a maze over there that actually exists in the Carnival world.
Yeah, so we started looking at the idea of, hey, what if you took the scare zones and you made them sort of this living, inhabited land, so that the maze matches the scare zone and that they together work together to tell a story. So we did it in two areas last year. We used the Hollow, and then we also did it in Carnival. So we have a dark ride, which, and I like the idea So I like the idea that you can get into the story either by going to the maze or going to the scare zone, and vice versa. And we're going to continue on that path.
All right, and then Tim, you're talking about freshening up some of the costumes.
Yeah, we looked at Boardwalk. When Boardwalk first started and the clowns were out there, for me as a customer, I had a huge challenge because I had these huge roller coasters to compete against. They were bright colored, and for me, I couldn't compete. There's no way I'm going to compete with that coaster. So what we did is we took a look at how we can change the color to be a point. So we put everything in sepia tones. The only color that you see out there is red. That's the pop. So no matter what clown you see, they have some form of red. So this year we went back and it needed some love. So we're freshening up our clowns and making them a fresh new look, so they'll be out there looking for them. You'll find all the red tones are still out there, but just a nice, clean, fresh clown is scary.
That's important.
Always.
All right, so that was Carnival. Now let's talk about something new called Awaken the Dead in Fiesta Plaza, Fiesta Village. We're going back to a dance party in Fiesta Village. So it's an all-night dance party, not a scare zone. And Eric, you want to tell us a little bit about Awaken the Dead?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, the last few seasons we've had a scare zone in Fiesta Village with Fiesta de los Muertos. Muertos? I knew I was going to do that. And, you know, really, we like the scare zone. There's some great characters out there, but they really can't compete with the juggernauts like Ghost Town and Carnival. And then across the park over at Calico Mine Stage, last season we tried having a DJ out there. And ultimately we felt like the hanging stage wasn't the right place to put that DJ, but we definitely needed some sort of all-night dance party. And that's kind of where Awaken the Dead came to be. So we decided to move that DJ back over to Fiesta Village and really lean in heavily on the idea of having a dance party. So look for a brand new produced dance party out there.
All right, Gus, you want to expand on that?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, we all know Dia de los Muertos is a celebration of the dead. So why would we not have the dead celebrate, right? Right. Makes sense.
Naturally.
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to take all of the energy of the DJ and just make that zone a living, breathing thing where it is fun. It's a little bit of a respite from the fog, but you're still in the mood and you get a little bit. People like the DJ, people want to go have fun, and we give them an opportunity to maybe not be scared for a minute, have a good time, but still be in an immersive environment. And with this freshening up and going back to this, we're actually able to bring a couple cool new characters in.
And what would those be, Tim?
Well, for you guys who've been to clubs, we usually have a wonderful time. I'm not a great dancer, so I need something to watch and judge. So we're going to create story some new characters. They're going to be called our Sugar Skull Go-Go Dancers. Something for you guys to see and watch and enjoy the costumes up there. There's also going to be stilt walkers out there. We got some of the best stilt walkers out there in the business, and they're going to be out there on the dance floor dancing with you, so you won't be able to miss them.
All right. So that's Awaken the Dead, Fiesta Village. And this is just one of the new shows that we are bringing back to the park. Ken, you want to tell us about that?
One of the things that I've always loved is the entertainment that is created just for Knott's Scary Farm. And in the past couple of years, we've gotten away from having what I would call a full lineup of shows. So this year, I've tasked the team to let's head back in that direction. So we're bringing back shows back into the park as well. So not only will we have these, fantastic mazes that are rich in detail, will we have these areas that you can go to a dance party, you'll also have an opportunity to see Halloween shows created for a Halloween event.
Nice. And we talked earlier about discovery. One of the big discoveries that the guests enjoyed last year was the Hollow. Yes, followed an intricate storyline where a witch hunter was trying to battle the trio of witches for control of the Hollow. Daniel, you want to tell us about the Hollow?
Well, the overall tone of the Hollow was very autumn-esque. Hot Halloween, carving pumpkins, twisted trees dropping their leaves. So we really wanted to recreate that. And the best place for that was Camp Spooky, because of all the trees, the natural coverage of leaves. The overall story, as you mentioned, were three witches are trying to gain control of the zone, and a witch hunter is after them, hunting them down. And one thing that we wanted to do, as Ken mentioned, was the sense of discovery. So when guests came in, they weren't exactly sure what was happening, but there's little vignettes that were, little scenes that were playing out throughout the zone that would all round up to this finale of this burning Wicker Man. So we didn't advertise it. You're sort of lucky to stumble upon it, but that was part of what we wanted to achieve, was to get this sense of discovery. So the Pumpkin Eater character actually is a character in the Hollow Zone.
Yeah, now, one of the great things I had last year was I monitor a lot of the social media, and it was all the fans discovering the Hollow moments and trying to put their own timeline together. Did you see this one? Did you see, almost like virtual trading cards? It was awesome. Did you guys enjoy the Hollow last year? That was fantastic. All right, thank you, Daniel. All right, who's ready for something brand new for 2018? Oh, come on, are you ready for something more? We're going to play a video.
Into the hollow marsh our mortal remains we commit, and from these muddy tombs we shall rise from the muck and mire, and lo, the forsaken souls of the lake shall bow down to death's grip. No more. Come in, as the ghosts goes by, for you may be the next to die. They wrap you up in a bloody sheet, lower you down to 6 feet deep. They put you in the pinewood box. The firewall where and rock. It all goes well for around a week, until your coffin begins to leak and the lungs fall in, the lungs fall out, the lungs bring the knuckle around your snout. They eat your
interactive moments and atmospheric characters. Eric, tell us about Forsaken Lake.
All right. So, last year, as I mentioned with Coasters in the Dark, we had a great opportunity to turn a lot of those lights out. And Ken and I were actually walking around Mission Row last year underneath Silver Bullet, and with all those lights turned off, we kind of talked to each other and said, man, this is a perfect opportunity to go ahead and bring back a scare zone that hasn't been there in a long time. So yeah, the Coasters in the Dark, and that's where we're headed, is Mission Row.
Anybody remember the swamp where it was? Daniel, you want to continue?
Yes. Being underneath Silver Bullet, we figured the best thing that could possibly be, the best theme that we could choose, because we're constantly looking to match the area with the theme, is we see a lake, and we said, well, Forsaken Lake, which is this New Orleans-esque crypt, sarcophagus, fog-covered, seaweed-covered, with roaming monsters that are all waterlogged, a little bit Victorian in nature. So we really wanted to create this feeling, and we learned from the Hollows that we wanted to inspire it with some interactive moments. And we wanted to put in this procession, like you saw in the video, this procession that would start at one end of the square zone and go to the other end. And so throughout the night you'll see this. And it's another thing that you can't discover. We won't exactly tell you when it's going to happen, but you have to kind of discover it on your own.
Yeah, the story or the idea is that it's a lake, that there's a cemetery that has been sort of covered by this lake, and that every fall the lake recedes and exposes the dead or the crypts. And so we will look at taking, putting atmosphere characters in that area, some really interesting new looks for our monsters, and then also, as Daniel was saying, that we will have these zone-wide pop-up moments that kind of happen organically around the guests. Once again, we're not going to give you a list of at 12 o'clock there will be a Rising of the Dead, and 1 o'clock, and we want you just to find it on your own. So
I can't make the 1:15 Rising of the Dead. Let's reschedule for 2:30.
yeah.
For me, what's really awesome about Forsaken Lake is obviously the new scare zone's always great, but this one, we have these cool throwbacks to where we've been with our history. We're going back to where we were with the swamp, because that was a really fun scare zone there. And with the swamp, you did have some set pieces out there, so we're going to play a little bit more with having a little bit of set pieces and enhancing a scare zone in that way. Another thing that to me is a cool throwback is with the procession that is going on at Forsaken Lake. It's very much pays homage to what we did in the Gauntlet with the Death March, so that there's that one guy that's like, yes, I kind of like that.
But he's a clown, so he doesn't count.
Yeah. But we're looking back at things we've done, and being able to treat them with respect, but also refreshing them in a really cool, new, exciting way with all of the wonderful new things that are at our disposal. And this really has some fantastic new looks from Mr. Barham here.
Well, my team and I, we're a small team. Let me give you some insight. There's only 26 of us, and we're responsible for every costume out there. So I am so blessed to have such a strong team. So when this team here approached us and said we're doing a new zone, we were all like, because we knew the work was going to come into it. But then we got to it and we went, oh my God, we're doing a new zone. We get to bring so much to this table. We started researching on New Orleans jazz funerals and found that they were really bright and they were kind of upbeat, and we were looking for something much darker and a little more spooky, obviously. So if you look, I threw up some designs for you to just kind of give you some flavor of what we're doing in the zone. It's going to take on a Victorian goth feel. If you see, there are two wonderful characters up there. They're called the Grievers. Obviously, with death comes somebody who's been left here and has to process that. So you're going to hear lots of screams and wails. If you look at the other two, they are from the area around there, which are like grave diggers and undertakers, and we're going to have pallbearers and footmen. So we're really going after all those people who work in and around a funeral home. One of the other things that was really important to me as a costume designer was to pay homage to the missions that were there. So we really had to set a strong character that's going to represent all of that, which is the monks. The other thing that was really also important was color palette. When we started doing our research, we started looking at lakes and what they looked like at night. And one of the things that really jumped out was the silvers, blues, and greens. If you look here, these are two of the characters in there. They're called the Reapers. They are the head characters throughout the area. They are our angels of death. So for me, I was looking to try to make sure that if, from a distance, you really wanted to approach, you wanted to get close, and you want to see what that was offering, and then when you get too close, they reap your soul.
For free.
Nice. That is Forsaken Lake, everybody. Stick around after the panel ends. We're going to play the video one more time for everybody. So, hey, thanks for everybody on the panel for coming out. Thank you. The greatest fans in the world, we have Ken Parks, Eric Dix, Wes Kruger, David Miller, Tim Barham. Be sure and stop by our booth on the show floor. It is inspired by Forsaken Lake, so you can take a picture and get a jump start on that. There's an exclusive pin for only $7, and we have staff on site to hire you if you want to be a monster. The last open hire for Knott's Scary Farm if you want to be a monster is Monday the 30th. Tickets and Scary Farm passes are on sale at Knott's.com. Get a pass and come visit us every single night. And if you have a Knott's Berry Farm season pass or a Knott's Scary Farm season pass, you can come to our announcement event on August 30th where we will reveal the entire lineup, including new mazes for 2018.